Nurul Huda, Muhammad Ali Abdul Jalil. Yes. Good afternoon. Yeah. Nurul Huda Ali Muhsin. Nurul Huda Ali Muhsin. No. Zainab Fazil Muhammad.
Yes, Doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Muntazir Farhan Dakhil.
Yes, Doctor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mona Khalid Ravi.
Yes, good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon. Noor Mayyed Kamel.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And Nazir Sahib.
Yes, Doctor. Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you. Okay. Thank you very much for the participation.
Hello, Doctor. Good afternoon.
Sajjad Kazem Nasser, your name is not in the list.
Why, Doctor? The same problem with Dr. Zahra.
I don't know what's the reason. Maybe you chose the course a bit late, huh? Maybe. Would you please tell me your full name? Again.
Sajjad Kazem Nasser.
Kazem Nasser. It is your first session?
No, Doctor. No, Doctor.
No? If no, why didn't you tell me your name in other sessions? It is the first session.
The same problem with Dr. Zahra.
The same problem?
Yes, Doctor.
I'm telling you that if it is not your first session, why didn't you ask me the other sessions to call your names or to write your names in the list? It is the first time actually I'm having you in my class. Okay, anyway, be careful with to be in the class. Okay. Any other point before? No. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, today I should talk about problem or research problem, or let's say statement of the problem.
Sorry, Doctor.
Numayed, yes.
My friend Nurul Huda, the mic is not working. She writes that too.
Again.
Nurul Huda Ali Mahsen. The mic not working.
Nurul Huda Ali Mohsen. Yeah, the mic is not working. Yes. I saw the message. Yeah. Okay. That's okay. Anyway, today's discussion is about problem, research problem, and how to evaluate a research problem. Okay, before going into the detail, I want to know your understanding of the material. Would you please tell me what did you get from the material? Your understanding of the material.
You are now unmuted.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, hey there. Jawad Abdul Kazim.
Yes, doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Problem of research or research problem is the main problem when we try to narrow down the problem or minimize it in our thesis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Of course.
In this part of research, the writer try to minimize or to focus on the core of the problem there. In this part research paper, the researcher describe what are the coverage of the study in the term of the concept, number of the participant in the study, the place where the study to be conduct. Yes, doctor. As well
Yes,
as
very
the time,
good.
as well as the timeline when the study was conducted.
The study is to be conducted, because
we want
here
to narrow that.
Yeah. Because
You are now muted.
you're thinking about the problem, you're thinking about the research. Okay, thank you very much.
You are now unmuted.
Yes, Ibtisam Hamoudi.
Yes,
You are now
yes.
muted.
A research problem is a specific issue or difficulty in the research. It is a gap in knowledge that the researcher will aim to address in his or her research. And there is two kinds of problem statement, practical problem and theoretical problem. In practical problem, aim at contributing to change. But while theoretical problem, it aims to expanding knowledge in the field. And yes. And the problem depends on the researcher broad topic of interest and the type of research the researcher want to do. Yes, and for example, in a practical problem, the practical problem is identified. The researcher identified is by reading reports or previous research and talking to people who are working in the same field. For example, difficulties faced by specific groups of students or in a school or any matters. While theoretical problems focuses on expanding knowledge and understanding, and it is identified by reading recent research or theory about this topic to find the gap in what is currently known about it. For example, situation or relationship is not well understood.
Okay, thank you, Ibtisam, for your explanation. Yeah. Based on what you mentioned, the research problem comes from two main sources. And as it is mentioned here in the material in the book, the research problem comes from two main sources. Would you please tell us the main sources of research problems?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Mara Khalid.
Yes, actually there are different resources for our problems as researchers. Problems can be derived from theory, from prior research results, from personal observation, and our teaching experience.
Very good. Yeah. It can come from a theory, or let's say from the review of the related literature, of the related studies, related articles, and at the same time it can come from our experience as language teachers, which means when we are teaching different courses, teaching different classes, may face some problem in the process, and to solve those problems, you may carry out research studies. So these are the two main sources from review of the related literature, may come up with a problem or gap. For example, after reviewing the related literature in a field, we may find that, for example, the findings of the studies in this field is not conclusive, the findings are controversial, and you may find that an area is not investigated appropriately, and more research is needed to delve into the issue. For example, lack of studies is a problem. Here the problem comes from a review of the related literature in the field. And as you said, and as I mentioned, another source of problem is from our experience. Haydar Abdul Hamza, yes.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Doctor?
Of course.
Is there research or thesis without problem? I mean, new idea or new techniques of teaching, for example.
Mm-hmm. When you're talking about new techniques or new idea, at the same time, you're asking a question, you're facing a problem, because you do not know the answer when you're thinking about, let's say, a new technique, a new idea, a question came to your mind. I'm telling you that here again you're talking about a gap. There is a gap. If something new came to your mind, it means there is a gap in the literature with regard to what you are thinking, with regard to the, let's say, this new idea. And what I'm going to say is that, no, it seems when there is no problem, there is no new research. And it seems research comes from problem. Research comes from gap. And if there is no problem, there is no gap, there is no research. Okay. Any other comment, any other problem, any other issue? No. Okay.
You are now unmuted. You are now muted.
Here it talks about levels of research problem and sources of problems. We're talking about sources of problems. Do you have my voice? Do you hear me? It seems, yeah, my connection is okay. Talking about sources of problem, we talked about two main research problem. Yeah. And at least suggestions are mentioned here about the problems or let's say the possible problems in the field. I don't want to go to the detail. And as one of you said, when thinking about a problem and then trying to narrow down the problem, you should think about the target population. The researcher must define certain necessary components of the problem. These areas of interest always include the target population and usually other features of the problem, such as the setting or situation in which the problem is to be investigated, the specific aspect of the general topic to be addressed, and so forth. So these points should be considered, should be taken into account while thinking about a problem. In the next part, if there is any question or any comment, you can ask your questions or comment. In the next part, when talking about evaluating the problem, some important, let's say, points are mentioned in evaluating the problem. Again, we should consider some points. One of the main issues, in my idea, one of the significant issues when thinking about a problem and evaluating the problem is the issue of feasibility. Do you know what is feasibility here?
You are now unmuted.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Haydar.
Yes, Doctor. I think when we collecting of data should be visibility. On the other hand, when we try to write something, we cannot focus on the core of what we're writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Would you please elaborate on what visibility means?
Visibility, that means, Doctor, we write on something. On the other hand, we cannot write on the other thing. And we want to focus on the topic of the problem here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other idea with regard to feasibility? Feasibility is one of the most important issues in the process of evaluating a problem. Imagine you came to a problem based on your experience or based on your study, based on your review of the related literature. I think the first issue that should be taken into account is feasibility. Why feasibility is so important? Would you please bring an example to clarify the point with regard to feasibility? Would you please give me an example of feasibility?
Feasibility, participant, feasibility.
When thinking or when talking about feasibility, it means you are thinking about a problem and you're writing a research proposal. When writing a research proposal, when trying to elaborate on the problem, you should think about whether the kind of research you are writing, the kind of research you are thinking about is feasible. It means, are you able to collect data based on the design you are thinking about? For example, let me bring you an example to clarify the point. Imagine you are writing a research proposal and you are thinking about collecting data, and you write that I will collect data from, 100 English native speakers, 100 native speakers of English. For example, when you are working in the field of interlanguage pragmatics, for example, for those who are studying within the field of interlanguage pragmatics, it is the usual to collect data from native speakers. So, you found a problem, you're writing a research proposal, and you're thinking of collecting data from the 100 native speakers of English. Is it possible to collect data from 100, I don't know, data, a questionnaire, or I don't know, a test from 100 English native speakers of English? Is that possible? Of course, it is really
You are now
difficult
unmuted. You are now muted.
to have 100 native speakers of English and collect data from them. It is really difficult, specifically for those who are foreign language learners and for those who do not have access to native speakers. Think of 1 or 2 native speakers. But most of the time, it is difficult to have 1 or 2 native speakers. How about 100? So, feasibility is this. You are thinking about something, you are writing about something in the proposal. In the proposal, you're proposing something. When you're proposing something, you should try to write something, you should try to think about something that is possible to, let's say, carry out. You should not write about something which is not possible to carry out, to accomplish. It is feasibility. When you are writing something that is not, let's say, applicable, is not something, writing something which is not, let's say, possible to carry out, it is not feasible. But feasibility, it means that. I brought you an example to clarify the point. There may be many other examples. For example, you may write something that I will collect data from, I don't know, 200 students. Do you have access to 200 students? I don't know, 200 advanced teachers. Do you have access to 200 advanced teachers? Writing is not difficult. Writing, when you're writing a research proposal, it is not difficult. You can write anything. But when you're collecting data, you may come up with problems because data collection, bear in mind that data collection is one of the most difficult and one of the most, let's say, laborious and painstaking labor in the process of doing any kind of research. So we should be careful on focusing on feasibility issue because it is very important, and I have come up with many researchers who thought that they are able to collect data, but when they were really engaged in the process of collecting data, they faced many problems and they were not able to collect data. In this regard, try to be realistic. If I want to, let's say, finish my talk about feasibility, I would say that please be realistic about your own facilities, because each of us, as if we are language teachers or if we are not language teachers, we have some facilities, we have some capabilities in collecting data. Be realistic about those facilities and our ability in collecting data. Based on our ability, we can propose something in the research proposal and then we can collect data. Okay, I hope the explanation on feasibility is clear. Is there any comment, any question so far?
You are now unmuted.
Yes, Doctor, I understand
Yes,
from
say
that the obstacles that we faced in applying the research and realistically. Is that right, Doctor?
Mm-hmm. Would you please repeat yourself, Haydar?
I think,
Yeah.
Doctor, I understood that when we face the obstacles or boundaries in real life when we want to apply the research on the participant. That right?
Yeah. Each of us has some obstacles and limitations in collecting data. Imagine, for example, some of you are not teachers. Those who are not teachers are not able to collect data from their own classes. They should think about some other ways of collecting data. I don't
You
know.
are now unmuted.
May your colleagues, your friends, your relatives may help you in the process of collecting data. You should think about them when you are writing the research proposal. You may talk with those who want to help you in the process of collecting data, because if you are not sure about the people who
You are now muted.
who wants to collect you, you cannot write something. Okay. Any other commentator?
Thank
You
you
are
for
now
your
unmuted.
elaboration, Doctor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You are now
on
muted.
page 33. On page 33. At the end of the page, there is a title about evaluating the problem. Before the proposed research problem can be considered appropriate, several searching questions should be raised. I'm reading from the book to highlight important points. Only when these questions are answered in the affirmative can the problem be considered a good one. Number one, is this the type of problem that can be effectively solved through the process of research? A very good question is asked, raised. The point is that, is the problem I'm thinking about an appropriate problem that can be answered, can be solved by doing the kind of research or not? Can relevant data be gathered to test theory or find the answer to the question under investigation? Yeah. Am I able to collect data? Able to collect data, or let's say collect data to answer the question, to solve the problem or not? These questions should be asked. Number two, is the problem significant? Is the significant problem an important problem? Well, sometimes you may come up with a problem, and after thinking and after studying related studies, you may see that the solution is available. Sometimes you may come up with a problem, or I don't know, you may think that an issue deserves research study, but after review, come up with the answer. I mean, the first thing after finding a problem, thinking about a problem, is reviewing the related literature. For example, when you think after you found a problem based on your teaching experience, you may think that an issue deserves a research study. You should review the related literature. Maybe some other people before you thought about the same problem. Maybe some other people thought about the same issue. They carried out research studies and they found the answer. So, if the answer is available, if the solution is available, so why do we bother to do another research? I mean, reviewing the related literature most of the time solve the problem. Most of the time provide us with the answer. If the answer is not available, so we can think about the problem more. We can think about the problem in detail. So here it is asking the question: is the problem significant? Imagine came up with a problem, you found a problem. So you should think about whether the problem is significant. Is it an important issue? Serve a research study. Is the problem significant? Is an important principle involved? Is let's say appropriate theory available for the research? Think about the theory. Would the solution make any difference as far as educational theory or practice is considered? Another important issue. Imagine you carry out whether the answer, whether the solution is the solution, or can the solution solve a problem in the field? Is it significant for the field of teaching English as a foreign language? These questions should be asked. Let me tell you another important point. You may have problems sometimes evaluating the problem or finding the problem when you are studying, when you are thinking about your experience, when you are reviewing the related literature. You might be problem. You may not be able to evaluate the problem appropriately. That's okay because you are beginners. You are starting to do research. Your supervisors and your advisors can help you in the process. It is okay to have a problem because you are students, you are let's say novice, you are beginners in the process. You can ask your supervisors to help you evaluate the problem and think about the problem. Anyway, these questions should be asked when thinking about a problem. Any comment, any questions so far?
You are now unmuted.
Yes, doctor. I have comment.
Yes, say that. Yes.
The researcher here, doctor, must be defined certain necessary component of the problem. Area of the research also include the target of population, which is important in doing in any research when we finalize our research problem. And we should have the audience population through which we are collecting data. Yes, doctor, this is my point of view.
Yeah, it was not a question, a comment, huh?
A comment there, doctor.
Yeah, it was not a question. Yeah, thank you. You should think about the audience for whom you are doing the research. Yeah. Number 3, page 34. Is the problem and move on? Is the problem and move on? Novelty. Here, we're just talking about novelty. Is the answer already available? To the point I raised. Yeah, maybe you're thinking about a problem and the answer, it is already available. If the answer is already available, so no need to do another study. Ignorance of prior studies may lead a student to spend time needlessly on a problem already investigated by some other workers. Yeah. However, yes.
How other researcher know the answer is available?
When you are reviewing the related literature, when you are thinking about a problem, the first point that the researcher should do is to search, is to look for related literature, related articles. And after reviewing the related literature, you may find that the answer is already available. Some other people, other researchers carried out the same study. After reviewing the related literature, you may find that the answer is available. That's clear, isn't it, Sam?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. That's mainly after studying, after review, we prove the answer is available.
Yeah, after reviewing the related literature, you will find the answer. Yeah, if you find the answer to the question, so there is no need to carry out the another study. Yeah. Okay. However, you're welcome. Let me continue. How, although novelty or originality is an important consideration, simply because the problem has been investigated in the past does not mean that it is no longer worthy of study. An important issue is going to be raised. At times, it is appropriate to replicate. It's talking about replication or repetition. Replicate or repeat a study to verify its conclusion or to extend the validity of its finding to a different situation or population. For instance, research for children might be of great importance to replicate with mentally retarded children. Similarly, much cross-cultural research consists of replicating research conducted in one country with samples in another country. For instance, some examples are provided. Here it is talking about replication. Some may think that replication is a way of doing research. That's okay. But bear in mind, when, for example, lots of studies have been carried out in the past, and the answer to the question is already available. So, what is the need to do another research? Think about something new. But when I say something new, even if you are trying to replicate or repeat another study, try to add something, try to have something new, try to look at it from a different perspective, or I don't know, a new variable could be added. Replicating another study completely is not that much okay. Or you should have a reason to conduct it. There should be a reason when you are replicating the study. You should have enough reason to replicate that. That's the point I'm raising. Okay. Any comment, any questions so far? Any comments? Okay. Number four talks about feasibility. Is research on the problem feasible? Here it talks about feasibility, the point we talked about as well. After is research on the problem feasible? After a research project has been evaluated, there remains the problem of suitability for a particular researcher. Suitability for a particular researcher. The student should ask, although the problem may be a good one, is it a good problem for me? A very important question. Is it a good problem for me? Will I be able to carry it through a successful conclusion? I told you, brought you some examples to clarify the point. Thinking about the participants, thinking about saying, are you able to carry out the study? Is it possible for you to carry out the study? These questions should be asked and answered when evaluating the problem. Okay. Any comments? Any questions so far? Any other points you want to add? No. Okay. Thank you. Any other point with regard to the chapter? Anything else? The rest of the chapter talks about some other important points. Let's have a quick look. Yeah. Page 37, about the research proposal. Yeah. Let me read in the research proposal title. The preparation of the research proposal is an important step in the research process. Many institutions require that a student that the proposal be submitted before any project is approved, of course. This involves a basis for the evaluation of the project and gives the advisor a basis for assistance during the period of his or her direction. Yeah. The proposal is comparable to the blueprint that an architect prepares before the bids are let in building commences. Yeah, before the start of the building. Yeah. So in the proposal, we should write about the process through which we are collecting data, and under the supervision of your supervisor and advisor, you would be able to carry out a study. In the next slide, it talks about a sample proposal format, apart from the statement of the problem and significance. Again, still talking about the problem. This is often a declarative statement, but maybe in question form. This attempts to focus on a stated goal, gives direction to the research question. It must be limited enough in scope. A very important issue is mentioned. We should narrow down the scope of the study. We should narrow down the scope of the problem here. It is an important issue. Talking about something general does not, let's say, lead to a good research problem. For example, you may say that I want to carry out a study in reading. It is not a problem. You're talking about a field of study. When you want to talk about research problem, you should narrow down the problem. It should be limited in scope, because you cannot talk and think about those general aspects. Okay, the major statements may be followed by minor statements. Yeah, by narrowing down the scope of the study, you can have some minor statements. Page 38, second paragraph. A problem often implies that a controversy or difference of opinion exists. Problems can be derived from theory, prior research results, or personal observation and experience. As we talked about sources of problem, again here it mentions problems can be derived from theory, prior research results, or personal observation. I think these are clear. Any comment? Any question? Any comment so far?
Thank you. It's clear.
No.
Yeah, Peter?
Yes, Mona.
Yes, I'd like to ask something. It's very important for us as researchers to differentiate between limitations and the delimitations.
Yeah. The last point mentioned here. Yeah. Do you know the difference between limitations and delimitations?
Yes, Dr. As I have understood in this page, limitations are both conditions beyond the control of the researcher that may place restrictions on the conclusions of the study and their application to other situations. Meanwhile, delimitations are the boundaries of the study. In this case, delimitations means the researcher can select or choose something, for example, research instrument, for example, students' response or teacher response, while limitations beyond the conditions, beyond the control of the researcher.
Yes, of course. That's the main difference between limitations and delimitations. Limitations are not within the control of the researcher. They are not able to control something, so those are the limitations of the study. But with regard to delimitations, let me bring you an example. For example, when you're doing a research, you say that I chose the female learners, the female participants, and I want to collect data from just female participants. So it is the delimitations of the study because the researcher deliberately chose female participants and discarded the male learners. That's within the control of the researcher. So it is delimitation. Actually, the researcher himself or herself delimited himself or herself in the process because both male and female participants were available and he or she delimited himself. Yeah, that's the difference between limitation and delimitation. Then talking or writing about limitations and delimitations, you should make a difference between the two. Yeah, an important issue was mentioned by Mona. Thank you. Another important issue is mentioned here with regard to key terms and definition of the key terms. At the end of the first chapter of the proposal or first chapter of thesis, those key terms and important terms or concepts of the study should be defined. Something which is missing most of the time is the operational definition, because most researchers, most students just write the theoretical definition of the key terms. The theoretical definitions should be provided as well as operational definitions. I mean, when we're doing the kind of research, there are some key terms. Those key terms should be defined both theoretically and operationally. By theoretical definition, it means those acceptable definitions available in the literature should write those definitions based on the appropriate references. That's theoretical definition. By operational definition, mean you are localizing something. You are talking about the concept within your study. How do you define this concept within your study? Because you may apply limitations based on the limitations. Do you hear me? I think there's a problem in my connection.
You are now unmuted. You are now muted. You are now unmuted.
Clear, Doctor. We hear you.
Yeah, here. Okay. There was a problem. I have poor connection. Yeah.
You are now muted.
Continue. Yes. Yeah. I was talking about operational definition. Should think about operational definition, how the concept is going to be applied in your study. Should be defined operationally. Do not forget to provide both theoretical and operational definition of the key terms of your study. Yeah. Operational definition, if I'm not mistaken, was the last point, and also limitations and delimitations that one of you, if I'm not mistaken, Mullah Khalid talked about limitations and delimitations. I think I'm done with the material. I'm done with the chapter. If there is any question, if there is any comment, you can ask. Comments and questions are done. Comments and questions. With regard to problem, with regard to evaluating problem, with regard to significance of the study, key terms, limitations, delimitations. If there is any comment, any question, you can ask. You see that?
You are now unmuted.
Doctor, I have a comment.
Of course.
An operational definition is the process through which we are trying to collect data from that concept or terminology in our study that we have.
Of course.
Our operational definition study and should relate it to the theoretical definition. One example of reading skill strategy defining the theoretical in literature. The theoretical definition is available on some accepted and acceptable theoretical definition, and that done by stated clearly in this study by reading the strategy. It should be clear and specific, and each operational definition lead to different instruments.
Of course.
Yes, Doctor. On that,
of course.
Yes, Doctor. On that data collected.
Go on.
Yes.
Go on.
On that data collected can be collected through interview or questionnaire or any other instrument. Yes, thank you, Doctor. This is my point of view. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good comments.
Thank you, Doctor.
Different. Yeah.
You are now muted.
The issue raised by Haydar is very important. Sometimes there is a theoretical definition. Based on that theoretical definition and based on the limitations of the study, you may choose to have an operational definition for your study. For example, when you are thinking about reading the strategy, as an example, you are thinking about reading some accepted theoretical definitions are available in the literature, and you may provide a theoretical definition by providing an appropriate reference. But when talking about operational definitions, think about your study. Are you able to carry out the study based on this definition? You may have some limitations. For example, you may want to use, interview to assess the students. reading strategy. So you should try to define this terminology operationally in your study based on your limitations and based on your, let's say, facilities in collecting data. So the operational definition you provide here in your study will define the type of instruments you want to use. So your operational definition is linked or connected to the instruments or procedure you're using to collect data. That there is a close connection between operational definition and the instruments and procedures we are using in our study. So those limitations and those facilities that we use or have in the process of collecting data are important in providing operational definition. Thank you very much, Aidan. Okay, any other comments? Any other comments? Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have other people in the class? Some other people, as I see in the public chat, there are some other students. Abbas, Fathil, Khiana, or Khaya. Are you with us, Abbas? Abbas, Fathil. Okay, any other points?
You are now unmuted.
Thank you, Doctor. It's clear.
Thank you very much.
You are now muted.
Okay, yes. Anybody else from the class? Yes, Abbas, Fatil. Is there anybody else in the class whose name was not in the base?
You are now unmuted.
I think Yusuf Ade, Doctor.
Yusuf?
Yes.
Oh, Yusuf is not with us.
Yes, Doctor.
Is he with us?
No, Doctor, not with the group A, even with the group B. He's still
Okay,
between
so we do not have.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are now
Thank
muted.
you. Let me ask you, who's the representative of your group?
You are now
It's
unmuted.
me, Doctor.
Do you have? Oh, hey there, you are the representative of the group. Okay, let me ask you a question.
You are now muted.
Is there anybody in your group who still does not have a supervisor? Anybody in the group, in your group, who don't have a supervisor? Abbas, you? You are not here. Okay. Anybody else who do not have supervisor? Please, Abbas, solve the problem with your microphone. Please try to. Hey there, do you hear me? Hey there, Jawad Abdul Qadir.
You are now unmuted.
I hear you.
Yes. Did you get a point? Do you know anybody in the class who do not have supervisor for the thesis, for the proposal?
I think all of them they have.
You think all these students have?
But I will ask them if you have, if you accept anyone, Doctor. You have time to accept.
Yes, because the head of the department already told me that some students do not have supervisors. Yeah, I can accept one or two students if Yeah.
I sent my proposal to Dr. Talibi. If he accept me, I will be with him. If not, I can't join with you, Dr. That's my pleasure. If you
Okay.
accept.
Okay. Okay. If you're working with Dr. Talibi, yeah, that's okay. If somebody,
I'm waiting his response.
okay, okay, that's okay.
Thank you.
I have two students, and I can still accept one or two.
You are now
If
muted.
somebody, has problem and do not have supervisor, you can text me. If you wanna
You are
work
now
with me,
unmuted.
you can text me in Telegram. I think you all have my Telegram account.
Inshallah, Doctor.
You can text me.
You are
and-
now muted.
Okay, thank you very much for your participation. If there is any comment, if there is any question, you can ask. Any comment, any question. For the next session, I will send you a book, which is called, I will send you the book right now. I can't remember the name, about thesis and dissertation writing, and I will determine a chapter to study the chapter, and we'll talk about the book. Today or tonight, I will send you the PDF of the book. And for those who are within Iran, the book is available, especially those who are in Tehran or who have access to bookstores in Tehran or, I don't know, and Ghalab, they will have access to the book. I will send you the book, and the PDF is available. You can study from the PDF, and I will tell you some parts to be studied for the next session. If there is any comment, any question, you can ask. Haydar, yes. No, Mona, Khaled. You can talk. There is no need to raise your hand. Yeah. Mona, yes.
Yes, thank you. Doctor, concerning the sample writings in the syllabus, what do you mean by sample writings?
I will tell you. Please ask me 1 or 2 sessions later. I will tell you to send the. I'll ask you to send 1 or 2 sample writing. Imagine, Mona, so far we talked about introduction. We talked about a statement of the problem. We talked about purpose of the study. Please prepare yourself. Prepare your sample writing, your proposal based on these topics. You can write introduction. You can write purpose of the study. After 1 or 2 sessions, we can review your writing, your sample writing. Your writing includes introduction, statement of the problem, limitations of the study, delimited. These are different parts of the proposal. By sample writing, I mean that. I mean those topics which were covered in the class. I will ask you to write and send me your sample writing. And in some sessions, we'll work on your writing. We'll study your writing, your sample writings. We'll have comments. We'll comment on your writing to improve the quality of your writing. By sample writing is that. We'll have 1 or 2 sessions on your writing. We'll study your writing. We'll have comment on your writing to improve the quality of your papers. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay. Since that's enough for today, thank you very much for your cooperation. Thank you very much for your participation.
You are now
See you next time.
unmuted. You are now muted. You are now
See you
unmuted.
next time.
See you, Doctor.
See you next
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You are now muted.